All right.
All right, welcome everyone. Let's see if this has started. Just preparing the streaming, I think.
Okay. Well, you let me know the specs if everything is going according to plan. If who's joining, who's not joining. I mean, you don't have to tell me actually. Just let me know if you need me to fix my mic or fix the camera.
Yeah, um, I think it's kind of settled. It's, I think it's preparing. It's already live. Can you hear me? Oh,
So
it's
all good.
all good to go.
We are ready to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. Some friends asked me if this live is gonna be saved, and I told everybody depends how it goes. So if we do a
Yeah,
good job today, which I'm confident we will, uh, the live will be saved. The goal is to have the live saved so people can have access to it later on, and hopefully we can take some snippets from it and put some other posts from the live. That'll be good. Um, since
yes.
I'm already talking, why are we here today, and why did we choose this topic? What is controlling your life? Um, I think it's a topic that makes you think right away. What is controlling your life? If you take that question seriously, it's gonna put you to think. It's like, what is controlling my life? What should be controlling my life? How do I know what is controlling my life? A lot of questions might arise from the topic of the life. So I feel would be nice um, for us to introduce ourselves and introduce the topic, and above all, introduce the why we are here today and talking about this. Ladies first.
Yes. Ladies first. uh, First, I'd like to thank you, Jagni, for being here today. I know that we have these conversations quite often in our phone calls while we are both driving to work. And after every conversation we have, at the end of the conversation, we think, oh my God, this was so good. That was so enlightening. Uh, that was that was a message for my week, and it really changed my perspective on seeing this topic or different things. Uh, and I think having this in a broadcast where people have access to these conversations and these insights that we have is a very good opportunity because there are things that is not coming specifically from me or you. You know, it's knowledge that we've acquired over time and with our practice in life and in our paths. It really could could help somebody, you know. I'm not saying it will, but definitely is a possibility, and I want to give people this opportunity. Many people, at least my husband and your wife, I know they're very curious of what we are talking on the phone for hours sometimes,
Yeah.
and many people say, "Oh, the relationship you have with your brother is just it's just different. It's just incredible." So Yagni is here. He's my brother. He's my younger brother, even though he looks older than me. Please, you can stay on the chat. He looks older than me. I really appreciate that. Um, but that's the intention. I think what came to what is controlling your life is from the perception that sometimes we are not in control. Uh,
Right.
some like there was a point in my life that I realized that there were other things controlling my life and I was living like almost like on an autopilot, on autonomous way. And this is something that is not a single time in my life. You know, it kind of comes in a cycle. The moment I become unaware of I need to be taking charge of this right now, I let it go, and the let it go is not in a positive sense where you've controlled enough to understand that the um, only thing to do is to renounce. is to let it go. It's usually the
Mm.
let it go before even starting. You know what I mean? It's you don't have
Right.
intention to do things. You are literally controlled from within, from different aspects. I think that's how this topic came about. We had many topics in mind, but I think this is kind of crucial for us. I hope you agree. You see you now.
Oh, right. Yes. Thank you as well. I have to retribute. I appreciate you inviting me. Um, I feel very proud of you, and I'm happy to be here. Also supporting. I know you have a lot of knowledge to share, and you only share with me so far. And I feel a lot of people out there could hear the things you have to say, and those things could help them live a better life. Truly, you have in your current work, you work with people. You work with people who are trying to get better, or they're trying to advance in their lives, and sometimes they have big challenges. And I feel you have a lot to share, especially with all the studying that you have been doing, all the certifications and everything. Um, so thank you. Yeah, regarding our conversations, I always have something that I extract from the conversations we have, and that thought leads to more thoughts, and that little thought becomes a whole conversation that actually encourages me and empowers me to go on um, with my goals, pretty much. Not just go on with my goals, but also uh, fortifying my goals and also giving meaning to them. Because sometimes you have goals, but you don't know why. It's like, oh, I have this goal. But is it because somebody has this goal and then you think you should also have this goal? You know what I'm saying? Which comes back to the topic, which is what is controlling your life? Are you in control of your life? Um, are is social media in control of your life? Is your trauma in control of your life? Are your parents? Is your religion? Um, anyhow, we
Exactly.
will explore this topic a little bit more. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, first of all, I just wanted to thank you. My name is Yagni, and I hope you guys know me by now. But I don't have any certification with human development. I haven't studied anything formally um, with like Genevieve, psychology and social sciences, all this stuff. But I love relationships. I love understanding how people think. I really take pleasure in talking about spiritual topics. Um, Part of my youth I spent in India because of that seeking of spirituality. So yeah, let's go on. I have a few questions straight for you that maybe we can get started with the topic, right?
Yeah. I just
Um,
want to say that there are some people that constantly are looking for knowledge outside, you know? And I am one of those people. Even though I do understand that I have knowledge within, I always want to kind of match what I kind of know to what is outside. So I study, I was like, oh, I knew about this, you know? But I'm looking for approval outside in one sense of almost to make sure what I'm thinking has been taught before. And I think you were one of these people that are born with a a a body of knowledge that is only people that have talked to you experience this. They're really like, wow, Jagni. I don't like people that know you, you know, and they're listening, they know what I'm talking about. So I just wanted to say that you're already born with this knowledge that okay, just saying.
yeah, yeah.
But
I take
go
your
ahead with the
words.
questions.
I take your words and I bring them to my heart. Thank you very much. Um, so back to the topic. What is controlling my life? As I was saying, when we think about the topic of this live stream, what is controlling my life? Um, for me, I start to think what should be controlling my life, right? What should be controlling my life? are there different agents or components of that controlling part? Um, and most importantly, how can I identify what is currently controlling my life? Is there, okay, to simplify, let's stick to this question, and we're gonna sprinkle the questions along the along the life. The first one, how can I identify what is controlling my life? Are there symptoms? Are there things I should watch out for? Are there mental habits that sometimes can indicate that something else other than myself or what should be controlling my life? You know?
Yes. I think the first sign that something else is controlling your life, you're always tired, you're always complaining about your life, you're always saying that I'm doing this because of. So
Mm,
I'm doing this because of my parents, or I'm doing this because of society. I'm doing this because my work. I'm doing this because I got sick. I'm doing this, like you always outsourcing because of the challenges that you're facing. You're always putting it out there. Um, you you literally, like, you live your life saying that your cans and cannots are always based on something outside of yourself. Um,
I see.
I cannot do this because um, every time that you're talking to someone, they will say, "Oh, why don't you exercise?" "Oh, I don't exercise because I work too much."
Mm,
Why don't you change jobs? Or why did you choose to study law? "Oh, because my parents wanted me to study law." You know, like you're always
yeah,
outsourcing the problem to something beyond yourself. And then you realize that you're not controlling your life at this point. And this could be in in a religious sense, or it could be my mentor is saying for me to do this, or my guru is saying for me to do this, and it's not your own choice. Does that make sense?
I see. Or could I even say that it might be your own choice, but the reasoning is that something else caused you to take that choice, right?
Yes. So you're always, in one sense, controlling what you want to do or you don't want to do. But sometimes you feel like you are commanded by or demanded by somebody else, and you're acting on behalf of that person rather
Mm,
than being aware of what you really want. So the lack of awareness of your own goals, but it's very blurry because if you, I would say myself, right? There was a point in my life that I was very concerned about my parents' health,
yeah.
and and this was something that was really constantly playing on my head. My parents need me. My parents,
Hmm.
they do not really need me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in my head, I was like, oh, I'm leaving them alone. And I started trying to control their lives to, oh, you should move somewhere else because if you move somewhere else. So instead of controlling my life, I tried to control their life because I didn't want to deal with the issues that I was facing myself.
Uh-huh.
You know? Do you get it? So
So it's I
so
see. So it could
instead,
also be a. I'm so sorry. Please go ahead.
go ahead.
So what it occurred to me, it could also almost be a form of procrastination. You let something else control your life because you don't really want to control it. You're almost afraid of controlling it, or you don't want that responsibility. So it's easier to live your life for someone else's sake, or for someone else's purpose, or for indirectly someone else controlling your life is better because it gives you excuses. So it's almost like a form of procrastination.
And this is very, it's almost like a child. It's like your
Hmm.
inner child per se. A child, doesn't have control of their own life in one sense, and they're always seeking attention. They're always seeking. I don't know if you had like a child that was, you do this, it's like you shouldn't do this, or my mom is my mom, is not yours. Um, so basically, they are always trying to control something other than their lives because do not have that capacity. And sometimes what happens to us is that we grow up in age, but there is something within that is still behaving on that mode, the operandis mode. I don't even know if that is a word in English, but
The modus operandi.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's in Latin for sure. The modus operandi is that I am behaving with that same mindset as an adult,
I see. Yeah.
and instead of doing the things that uh you're procrastinating, you are focusing or you're diverting yourself to all these other things. Sometimes is people that have a difficult marriage, so they don't stay in their house, right? Instead of dealing with a difficult relationship, they start working too much and they say, oh, I have a difficult relationship because I'm working. But he's
Yeah.
working too much because he has a difficult relationship. And if he doesn't stop and say, wait, I need to see what is going on here, analyze what is happening, and take a decision of what he wants to do instead of blaming on work or on the bad relationship. Does that make sense? Because
Yeah.
otherwise, we'll be stuck. Instead of progressing and evolving in life, we're constantly stuck into this um, complaining mode that everything in your
Mhm.
life doesn't work, and it's because of the system. You're always going to blame on the government. You're always going to blame on everybody's like this. And that's why I cannot change. It's because everybody is suffering the same way I do.
I see. So what I understand is that we can diagnose ourselves, or we can feel what is controlling our lives by the excuses we give ourselves and by the reasoning that we give for the actions we take. Right?
Yes.
If
And
if we're not
sometimes, so
if we're not expressing ownership for our decisions, and we are not holding ourselves accountable, that is also a sign that something else is controlling our lives. Would you say that?
yes, I would say that. And I also would say, I think
Um,
it's reconnecting.
it makes sense. Uh, Personally, within what I understand is that we have this longing, right? As human beings, we have. You need to say something?
No, it just cut a little bit. Could you just repeat the last sentence?
Oh, yeah. Um, I was saying that as human beings, we have this longing. Um, whatever you said, I couldn't hear.
Yeah, just give me 1 second to see what is going on here.
Okay, no problem.
Let's restart here. Um, you can hear us. I'm just confirmed that everything is fine, and then I'm perfect. Okay, let's continue.
Okay, great. Um, so as I was saying, as human beings, we have this longing, which is, I feel, what also gives meaning to our lives and the impetus to live. It's um, it's a feeling we must go on. You know, we need to continue, and we need to survive. Right, the first level of Maslow's pyramid. We need to eat. We need to have a shelter. We need to be alive, pretty much. And I noticed that within my quest for spirituality, within my quest, personally, I had the longing to understand, like, what's going on, like, what is life about? So within that quest, I noticed that there are a few traps on the way that even when we're trying to expand our barriers, we're trying to expand our knowledge, expand the way we understand ourselves, um, the way we understand our situation, the world, the environment. Sometimes we fall into traps of finding a source of knowledge, might be religion or might be a philosophy, and then you let that philosophy and that religion control you because you have faith in something, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is good, maybe this should control my life, not me. And all of a sudden, what what was controlling your life before, you replace by something else controlling your life. And what I noticed is, living in a monastery, it's a very good environment for training people. You have a routine, you have knowledge. Our brains long for learning, so we need to acquire new information, that makes us feel good. So it's a very good environment for for a learning process. But it comes a point that you mature, you become an adult, and the learning phase changes slightly. You no longer are just learning, you're learning still, because learning never stops. But now you also have to start giving back, and you need to take care of yourself pretty much. You need to put in practice what you have learned. Now, to put in practice what you have learned, you need to start making decisions. And those decisions, depending on the level of decision, right? Whether it is just maintenance, keeping yourself alive, or your social environment, um, decisions regarding your relationships, you need to make those decisions yourself. So if you have an agent that controls your life, sometimes can feel very good. So I
Oh,
just want to bring this back to you, because the first symptoms of having something else controlling our lives is, oh, you feel tired, oh, you have excuses, oh, but
healthy.
sometimes that controlling agent can feel very nice, and it can feel like you're doing the right thing. It's like, I read a book, the book has the answers, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I should do this, I should do that, and I'm just doing what the philosophy tells me. I'm just doing, and then once again, you're back in the same trap, back in square one, where you're letting something else control your life, and you're giving up your very, ability to make decisions, and your responsibility. Because as you give away the control of your life, indirectly or directly, you're giving away responsibility, and then you stop developing
Yes.
because you're not taking ownership for your actions again, and you're not fully allowing yourself to be who you are or who you're meant to be, because you're letting something else control your life instead of just maturing as a tree, just giving what you're supposed to give, growing how you're supposed to grow, adapting to the environment. But nonetheless, it's your effort, it's your decisions, and it's your choice. The control is you, right? So if you choose to put something else as control, sometimes that might take away from your development. I would like to give that question back to you, because sometimes having something else control your life can be amazing, and I have been guilty of this pleasure.
Oh, yes. Um, Having somebody else controlling your life, it's so good because it puts you in the most comfortable position ever. You don't have to think, right?
Yep.
And plus, if something goes wrong, you have somewhere else to blame. You don't have to blame yourself. If something goes wrong in your life, it's like that joke. If I I cooked if it tastes good, and if it doesn't taste good, was somebody else who cooked.
Right,
So
right.
if you're in a super comfy position, right? You're following this book per se, or this master or this mentor. But if something goes wrong, the responsibility, instead of taking myself, I'm also gonna outsource it.
Right.
is exactly the same. And it's interesting because what you bring into your experience in Gurukul, and traditionally speaking, Vedic culture, it has a training period. It goes to 25 years old of
Yep.
age. And in a parallel, is the same time that the brain matures, right?
Yep.
So we are learning. It's a learning curve from zero, from 4 to 25, where you're learning. And when your brain mature at 25, you are ready to make your own decisions.
Right.
But what usually happens is instead of teaching in a way that promotes people to take their own decisions, sometimes these people perceive as taking instructions and just following, rather than taking the instructions, understanding the intention, understanding the purpose, and then following. Do you know what I mean? Or not following. Because
Yeah.
if the intention is not clear, if the purpose is not clear, there is no teaching, there is no process of learning, because you're doing by repetition, and a robot can do that.
Yep.
And then you lose your whole sense of human being
Oh my
if
God.
you do. Literally, you become a robot, mechanically doing
Yeah.
things without purpose. And then if you do that, you do not develop the values. You know, I think
Yeah.
growing up in a philosophy like we did, um, we talk about principles, we talk about values all the time. We talk about honesty, we talk about compassion, we talk about cleanliness, we talk about honesty. But those values sometimes they are lost in between our rules and regulations, what you should do and what you should not do. Rather than developing those qualities and values, people get robotic and follow in yes or no. And compassion, for example, you say, "Oh, I don't eat meat. I'm practicing compassion." But then you go into your friend and then you say something terrible to them,
Right. Right.
or you judge other person. So I think the idea of understanding philosophy and the process of self-actualization, of self-realization, has an ownership to yourself. And if you're talking about progressing, whatever it is, if it's progressing materially, physically, professionally, or spiritually, you need to have ownership. Because if you don't have that, it's going to crash afterwards. It's going
Right.
to be like this, and you think you're great, and then suddenly you crash. And then it comes the psychological part of it, the
Right.
anxiety, the depression, and yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And just from what you said, the robotic lifestyle that you feel, um, oh my God, it's just another symptom. For those out there who are thinking about this question,
Exactly.
which is, um, am I in control? Like, what is in control? Um, Definitely, that is something that I have felt that it takes that sucks the purpose of your life away because you're not engaging yourself. And because you're not engaging yourself, you're not getting down to the decision making with your heart, like deep inside. Because you have all these thoughts, you have all, okay, this, that, all the thoughts of the controlling agents, whichever they are. Like I said, they could be coming from emotional backgrounds as well. It's not always thoughts. It could be an emotional situation that leads you to take decisions. But ultimately, those decisions are not yours. They're not belonging to the self. They're belonging to experiences. And the experiences, I feel like that's a huge thing to separate
Yeah.
experiences from the self. You are who you are, but the experiences that you have, you need to understand the difference. And if you
Oh,
don't,
yeah.
sometimes a certain experience might become you. I have met people, and I might have done this myself, which you just tell one story over and over in regards to something. You might have heard someone, I don't know, they
Yeah.
had, hypothetically, they had a bad situation happen to them, maybe an accident. And you talk to that person, and the person might refer to the accident like 10 times in a conversation. It's like, oh my God, yeah, since the accident, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. And then like you try to change topics, like, dude, I don't want to talk about the damn accident no more. And then you change topics, and then somehow the person drags that accident back, and it's almost like, okay, the accident happened. It's okay. It's okay. Like it happened. That's why who you are right now. And then all of a sudden, you don't know, am I myself or am I the accident? You know what I'm saying? And like you said, you can go on with your life so far when it comes a point that you start to question everything, because your decisions, they will have a result. And when you're living the result of those decisions, you're like, oh my God, I haven't signed up for this. Like all my life, I've been living my life uh, through something else. Like who was doing all the choice making the whole time, you know? And that's why I am like all in with this effort that you have right now of like bringing knowledge out to people. Because the earlier you understand this, the better you can adjust your life. Um,
It's
Once
it
again, we're not
it's so
giving an answer. Like what we're talking about here is no one answer. It's just encouraging you to independent thinking. It's knowledge, and knowledge should be expansive, not limiting. So we're not here to limit your choices or to limit your perspective. The idea of the conversation, the idea, what I think of knowledge is that you should expand. You should have a broader view. You should be able to see the components and agents of action and decision making, and be able to balance yourself, balance free will with with the environment, the cards that are dealt to you by life, right? Um, right. If you have something else to say, I'm ready to ask you a different question, but you might want to complement what I just said.
I do I would want to compliment because you were speaking with such I feel like you were speaking with such a experience, like exactly. and
Don't
and
throw me under the bus. Come on.
I'm sorry, but I've been there too, and I feel like that is great that I've been there, and then somehow I was a catalyst for you to be aware of this, and now we are starting something together, like to really help support people on their own discoveries, on their own journeys. Obviously, there are techniques. You're saying that um, sometimes a person, they are aware of all this, but they are not able to fully grasp on exactly what is controlling because there is so much going on. Sometimes in their lives is such a network of confusion or controls, and sometimes it's their experiences, sometimes are their beliefs, sometimes it's the system they are in. So their internal aspects, external aspects. Sometimes they are looking something in the past.
Right.
Sometimes they're just looking something in the future. And the field of their life is so um, complex per se that they are unable to identify that themselves. And that is a method, that is a structured method that you can look at your life and almost like take a picture of what is going on in your life. And then we are able to see, okay, are you in control or not? I always
Right.
give an example like that it's almost you have a car and you're supposed to be driving. There are sometimes you are driving the car, but the car is broken.
Right.
So are the external aspect. Sometimes you have a good car, you have you're driving, but the path is not clear. And you don't know where's the direction. Sometimes you are sitting in a car, the path is clear, but instead of sitting on the driving seat, you're sitting beside the driving seat
Right.
and no one is there, and you feel like I'm just stuck.
Yeah.
So I feel like this analogy, that is a method to perceive what is going on, and sometimes you cannot do this themselves, by yourself, but you can see the signs, and then you can look for help. Like if you
Right.
feel that you're unable to change yourself, there are ways of doing with a help with somebody. This help, it's never uh,
What you want to hear?
a Exactly. It's never what you want to hear. It's never what you want to hear. Plus, this help is not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you go for help and they tell you what to do, you know that is not help.
Yep.
They will push a bunch of questions to you and say, "What are you doing this? Why, how?" They'll put a bunch of questions to you, and you will finish the session like literally, I didn't understand half of what this person said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Understand? And yeah, so I just wanted to say that, and then you can pass it on to the next question.
Of
Go ahead.
course. What I noticed as well is that when we are living in a life that it's not meaningful, first of all, having someone else being in the passenger seat, not knowing who's driving, can lead to a feeling of meaninglessness in your life. You're like, you just feel the emptiness. It's like you go to sleep and you're looking at the ceiling. It's like, man, what's going on? You know? And when it gets really bad, when you wake up, you also like, oh wait, like what am I doing? Like, why am I getting? It can lead to feelings of meaninglessness that makes maybe gets you stuck, and that's so important. That's so important because that's the divine gift for you to change. Change is most of the time, I would say always, change is always the answer. If something is not, something is feeling different, if you feel something's not feeling like it should, the answer is in change. And generally, the change is sparked by something not working right. You're not going to take your car to the mechanic if it's running great. You take the car to the mechanic when you see lights blinking, weird noises, and then you start to freak out. So, that divine gift of feeling weird or feeling doubtful or feeling lost, that's the divine gift sparking the change. And for those listening to this, please make a change. Please listen to that voice, listen to the symptoms, and look for something. It might be right close to you, but you have to be open to it, right? And what I noticed as well, that when that meaninglessness is there, we need to develop somehow. We need to gain from life. It's a whole, like, we breathe in, we breathe out. We have to take from life, we have to give back from life. And I feel like when that's not happening naturally, we feel like we're not gaining, we're not going anywhere. That's when we start looking for cheap dopamine. We eat, we consume content that's not appropriate, we consume food that's not appropriate, but it will give a little bit of a, oh my God, it feels good right now, like sweets, all that stuff. I'm not saying that that's bad, but I'm just saying sometimes we cross the line because we are out of balance, right? Um, and that's just something that I I think it goes together with that feeling of meaninglessness. You start to
and
look for
and
things. Yeah, go ahead.
and this feeling of meaningless, Jagni, it can go into dopamine, it can go into substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, and so
Right.
on. And we can also go into your health, mental and physical health. People don't usually realize, but sometimes when they're often really, really in burnout in work, they get sick. They're really tired and they get sick. And I think that's important to perceive that that is a language, a universal language that permeates everything, you know? So if you're getting sick, it's a way of your body saying you need rest.
Right.
So if you know that your body works in that way, what you do, you give it rest before it gets sick.
Right.
And instead of dealing with consequences, dealing constantly with the reactions of your actions, you can almost predict the reactions because you have a conscious action. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And and this, it can go in all levels of your life. It can go in a professional level, in a relationship level, in a physical level. And and if you are able to perceive that balance, the natural process is to evolve. And if you feel that you're stuck, you know it's wrong because the
Right.
purpose is evolving. Do you know?
Yep.
It's coming out on the pyramid of Maslow is to advance in consciousness, is advancing in life, progressing. I hope this is clear for everybody that you need to analyze your life in a way that is holistic.
Right.
Because if you stretch one of the sides too much, if you stretch one of the sides too much, what happens is that it demands so much energy and the other one fail.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are not like laws of nature. You know, we can see that there is seasons. You know, there is a fluctuation. There is day, there is night, there is polarity, there is correspondence, there is gender.
Right.
So there are all these laws of nature that you need to understand to be able to navigate the material existence in a conscious way. Like
Mm-hmm.
Srila Prabhupada used to say that before becoming Krishna consciousness, you have to become a gentleman. You need to become conscious first before conscious of something.
Right.
So I think the point is not skipping steps. I think it's come down to earth and have a really honest understanding of who you are, you know, and really try to clean from all the dust accumulated for years. It's all the luggage that you are carrying unnecessarily. It's about cleaning your environment, cleaning your wardrobe, but the
Mhm.
wardrobe outside and inside, because one way or the other is a reflection.
Right. Once again, that separating the self from the experiences, right?
Yes. And
Yeah.
we separate the self from experiences, but they are interconnected. And from from the moment you perceive and you are able to separate them, you understand that it's a reflection.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for touching this point of development is holistic. You know, first of all, it doesn't just go one way. You expand as a whole. So you can't just think about financial development without thinking of your emotional development, spiritual development, physical development. That's very important. And I have been guilty of that many times to focus too much of my physical development or focus too much on my spiritual development and then messing things up or financial development, you know. Um, yeah, but I want to, you know, feeding back from from the analogy of the car. I think it's a great analogy, and it brings us to a clear understanding. If you are in a car and you don't know who's driving, I believe you also don't know where you're going. You don't know whether you may see the path as it's coming, but you don't know where it's going to lead you ultimately. Um, so we have talked so far a lot about how do we know that we are not in control? So how can we regain that control? So if I'm out there, I'm in a car, I don't know where I'm at. The guy who was driving or whoever was driving, I figured out and I'm like, wait, I want to drive. And then I get onto the driver's seat, I grab the wheel. My question to you is where's the GPS? You know, how can I how can I know? Sometimes you're so lost, especially if you go down the path um of not realizing this and making a change, and then you lead to things that can numb that sensation, substance abuse, the dopamine addiction. There's a lot of people talking about dopamine nowadays, so we're all familiar with this topic, dopamine
Yes.
addiction. How can we regain the control? How can we know? Because sometimes you don't even know what you want. Wait, why do I want it? It can be very confusing and overwhelming. So is there like baby steps that we could do to start coming back and have a little bit of a clear view of the situation, as well as, like you said, universal laws. The nature is constantly teaching us. So how can we apply those laws? I know it's an extensive topic. To talk
It
in
is.
15 minutes would be it wouldn't be possible. But it's just we talked 45 minutes about how we are screwed. And like, wait, don't go yet, don't go yet. It's like if it's a doctor that just gives you diagnosis, doesn't give you any treatment. It's like, oh, that's what you have now. Like, I think everybody needs to hear, and we should talk a little bit about. Okay, so how do we come back from it? How we regain the wheel and we don't cause an accident, right?
Yes. I think first we need to become aware of what's going on in our life. I think that is the first step. There are techniques of doing that. There are uh, psychologists like Bert Hellinger, which develop a family constellations, and sometimes you can actually, not by doing that therapy, you are able to perceive what are the reflections of your system into your life and what is really at that point taking charge of it. And when you are able to really find yourself in in control and really governing that your life, you are not too much on the creation, you're not too much on the controlling, you're not too much on, per se, yin or yang. You find that balance in life. What you you have to look up, right? Where are you in levels of consciousness? So you mentioned Maslow and Abraham Maslow, and we talk about like 7 levels of consciousness. And I'll go into 4 because it's a process. So the first one is this survival mode. So if you realize that at that point you are in the survival mode, you need to be able to change your consciousness. And for you to change your consciousness, all your needs at that level need to be fulfilled. So if you're constantly thinking, I need to work and make money for survival, you need to go beyond that. So your groundwork has to be your where to go, per se, is change your level of consciousness. And then you go to the second level, which is a bit more social. It's about more families or tribes or really interactions with one another. And then when you go into that, and then the second level, and obviously there are sub levels, and then I can go and talk about this forever. But when you are able to go to the second level, which is importance per se, because you
Uh-huh.
realize that you find yourself within the society and you have those connections, relationships. And then, and we can also carve a parallel to ages, your ages too, because survival it's very toddler like per se.
Mm-hmm.
Importance is a moment of the child that is really kind of pre-teenage years, that they realize that they have peers, right?
Right.
And it's about evolving that level of consciousness. And then you go into a third level, which is the level that people usually most scared of, because it's a level of importance and power. And importance and power is usually perceived as something very negative.
Yeah.
But this power is actually the power of controlling yourself and controlling your actions and have a planned process for success,
Mm-hmm.
rather than power over others. Sometimes that in that level you need to really understand, you have to perceive where you need to stand a point. Because imagine if somebody has been driving your life for your whole life, and suddenly you tell this person, per se, hey, I don't want you driving my car anymore. The person will be, excuse me, I've been driving your car for the past 10 years. Excuse, like, it's mine. And they try to take ownership. So you really need to like, really understand and take ownership of, excuse me, that's me right now. Thank you for what you've done, but
Right.
goodbye. And then after this level of importance and non-importance, power and success, then it goes to a kind of self-realization process. It's about really understanding the knowledges and awareness and for being able to talk about higher topics because you're
Hmm.
completely stabilized. You're stabilized in your basic needs, you're stabilized in your relationship, you're stabilized professionally and financially. And then you are able to reach a point of servitude per se. And I think coming from I think it's important to talk like we grew up in a Bhakti tradition, right? We talked about devotion since we are like babies. We talked about service since we are babies. And I feel like, at least for myself, I've put this serving before I even consider all these other levels. And
Right.
because of that, I was not able to serve properly. And I was not able to be sincerely there. I was outsourcing my life to all and to all agents rather than take ownership, go through the process, and come to a point of servitude, like really genuine devotion. So I think, like in literally 6 minutes, it's about understanding consciousness levels. First, understand where you are, removing all the controlling agents of your life. Take some time to see, wait, do I sit here right? What is my nature? What is my purpose? Sometimes people in that point, they change professions entirely
Hmm.
because they've realized that um, they've done a profession because of the expectations of society. Sometimes they come there and they realize that they have a relationship that needs to be taken care of. You got married, you love that person, but you realize that you're operating such a mechanical way that you don't even know that person anymore.
Hmm.
So I think sometimes the groundwork can take a little bit of time for you to stabilize it to a point that now I can grow. So you first take control of your life battlefield per se. Take control, then you govern it for some time, and then you are able to evolve with different levels of consciousness to progress. We can also talk about your inner purpose, like your inner purpose of what you're meant to do. But then it's gonna go into extended
Right.
amount of time. But I would say that you have a urge inside, and you're only able to perceive that urge when you're able to unpack all the other things that are blocking it. So when you're blocked, like when you take all these layers of conditioning, all layers of conditioning, all layers of control, you are able to see who you are, right? And when you are able to see who you are, then you identify yourself with the self, with the soul per se, that you're not even this body. You are more than that. You're not even your intelligence or mind. You're something pure that is eternal, that is full of bliss, full of knowledge. And like when you reach there, you are able then to see, you do the reverse journey to, okay, where I am, where I was, where I was born, this all experience. You only able to do that when you have that clarity of taking all this controlling aspects out. And then you're like, okay, now I know what to do. So
Mm.
if you are doing something with purpose, with intention, you know that you're guided by it. It's almost like a two-way street, you know? It's a force pulling you and a force like pushing you, pushing and pulling, yes. and and then you become a state of flow, you know? You're flowing life. You go ups, you go down, but you're flowing. You see a movement rather than
Mhm.
stuck. I think that's the main thing is like when you are not in control, somewhere in your life is stuck. You're not
Right.
progressing whatsoever. And when you know that you're in control, that is this flow, that is this movement.
I just want to check with you. My mic got tired of my voice and decided to turn off. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. Um, Inspired to what you were saying, I I remembered a story. So I was hiking in the Himalayas, and I was not doing very well. I was very tired. My tummy wasn't good at all. um, and I was hiking, and it was a long hike. It wasn't a 1 day hike. It was, I think, it was 3 or 4 days to cross a range. So we went up a hill, went down a hill, going from one one river source to different rivers from close to Yamunotri, where the Yamuna River goes, flows from, to Gangotri. Not exactly Gangotri, but like closer to Gangotri, and from there we took a jeep. Anyhow, it was a long hiking trip, and the key that I got from it was that I was so sick. But there was no going back. You know, like we are past the point, and we are with a group that there's no going back. Like it's as bad as going forward. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, there is no way back. And then like we would go down a hill, and I'll go down the hill. And the thing is, when you're at the bottom, when you're in the valley, you look up the hill, and it feels like it's the last hill you're gonna cross because you're so high up, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna go up this hill, and then it's gonna be going down, and then I'm done. And then I go up the hill, and there's another hill, and then I go down the valley, and it's like, okay, after this one, we're gonna start going down because we were hiking up the whole time. At some point, we have to start going down. And I was just praying, like, please let this be the last hill, you know. Anyhow, what I got from it is that this process of identifying your degree of consciousness and going to the next degree, it involves risk. It's not comfortable. It's not. Growth hurts. That risk taking is an essential part of it. And connecting to the story, I realized that I only knew how many steps, how many mountains were there once I go to the top of the mountain. So we have to deal with one challenge at a time. You're not going to get to the
Yep.
third degree unless you go through the second, right? So I didn't get to the fifth mountain until I got to the first four. But I only saw the second mountain once I crossed the first. So sometimes this evolution can feel, you feel in your guts. You feel like, oh my god, but I can't. But you're gonna give tons of excuses. You're gonna give tons of, let's change the term, not excuses. You're gonna give tons of reasonable motives why you shouldn't do something. Reasonable. They make sense.
Oh,
But the evolution, it takes, you can talk about this way better than I can. But I just wanted to point out that so far I haven't been much of a risk taker. I I think of something and I go all the way through the idea, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it. Like before I do anything, I go through the whole process, I get the outcome, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
do you see? Basically, our brain receives per second 11,000 thoughts, right? And what we do is that we distort, we delete, and we, oh my Lord, delete, distort, and generalize. And we generalize, right? And we distort, delete, and generalize based on your past experiences. So if you base your decision making into your past experiences, what is the likelihood for your future experience being different than the past? You get it? So if you have to stop and do this process autonomously, because then if you continue operating your brain, that's how the brain works. The amygdala is there, fight or flight. What you gonna do? It That's a natural response. It's like a biological response because and after 11 million thoughts per second, you can concentrate into 4. So imagine how much deleting, distorting, and
Right.
generalization are you doing constantly. So risk taking is important because you put something new, you're experiencing something new. And when you allow yourself to experience consciously with awareness, you are able to then change those guidelines for the distortion, for the generalization, and for the deletion. Do you know? Um, I know that we kind of reached the time, but do you have some time, we could extend a little bit.
What,
Is that all
me?
right? Yeah.
No, my schedule's very busy. It's a Saturday night. No, of course, I can stay longer.
Basically, I just felt like it's important to talk about the risk taking and this process that your brain goes into what would happen and then go back into deciding whether to take the risk or not. Um, and like I've moved 3 countries in the past like
Oh
seven
my
years,
God.
right?
That's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for this story because you're talking
Uh,
about risk taking, and I remember you taking risks to get a better life, and I was like, don't do it, don't do it. And I
um,
truly care about you, you know? That's why I wanted you to
oh,
share, because I really care about you, but somehow I wanted to control your life, you know? And you're the one who to control it in order for it to get better. Anyhow, please share.
so basically, there was a point in my life that first I was living in India and everything seemed okay, but I wanted to control my parents' life, right, in my head. And I moved into my parents' place. And living there, I realized I cannot do this. Like my parents were really strong in controlling their lives. Therefore, and I was the agents like me trying to control their lives were not accepted. So I was like, okay, I need to leave from here. And then I went, and then pandemic years arrived, right? And I was like, oh, I'm being controlled by pandemic, but by the pandemic, and I cannot do anything right now. So for a year, I sat and I was literally living my life in a very uh, like not
Secluded.
thinking, secluded per se, but like really not thinking much. I was just like my controlling agent was like, pandemic is there, I cannot do anything. I cannot think of changes right now because there are pandemic. The pandemic is there. So I didn't do anything for a period of time. And then I was living in a community, it was a beautiful community. People had purpose there, but I did not have my purpose. So I always thought this is temporary for me, but I don't know what to do. And at that time, I was literally like trying to manage 2 small businesses, which was not flourishing. And I was sharing my house. I was living with my husband and a very lovely couple. and and sometimes even like the daily activities were like it was just, how can I say, like, looking back, it looks surreal to me to not have a level of purpose. I was literally living in such a stuck mindset that, like, looking back, it was just like so numb by, it was so clouded, I wasn't able to do anything. Like, in none of my areas of life, I was progressing. Not in a physical sense, not in the spiritual sense, not in a
Mhm.
financial sense, not in relationship. They're all stuck. And then I watched one live from João. João, it's from the Bora Evoluir, man. I watched one live, and he was talking about that comfort zone. When you put yourself in that comfort zone and you outsource your life to other agents. And when that happened, I was like, wait. And uh, a changing virus, like a transformation virus, was like, I need to see what is going on in my life. What are the agents that is controlling my life? Is that a pandemic? Is that a community? Is that myself? Is that, you know, my my beliefs, my perceived knowledge? You know, I there was a point that was like, I need to change it. And in conversation with my husband, we are like, okay, let's move. Here's not the place for us. Let's move. And we literally use Excel. We put different countries that were English speaking. At the time, my husband was really struggling with learning Portuguese, and we we literally did that. And then we made a list. That was an attempt of robbery for us as well. So everything was going like terrible. Like your life was completely down, stuck, and there was attempt of robbery, and we felt the fear of our lives. At that time, I also had a cancer scare. So
Oh my God.
do you remember that? So everything was happening at the same time. Like everything was going, like, collapsing on me. All my choices were collapsing on me. All my previous decisions were collapsing. And at that point, I decided, instead of outsourcing the guilt, I took it up.
Yeah.
And then I said, I decided to be here. I have to deal with this. But at the same time, I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it, and I will do whatever it takes. Doesn't matter how, I'm going to do it. And when, when I decided to do that, we've decided that I wanted to study psychology. So I had already started studying psychology, and we decided, okay, let's go to Australia. But the understanding of coming to Australia, in theory, it's great. But then you look at the fees of university, and you think it's like 100,000 reais per year. And I've never even had 100,000 reais in my account. And the course takes 3 years. It was like 300,000 reais. And it was an amount of money that I thought was impossible to manifest in any way,
Yep.
you know? And when I decided to go, somehow the life opened doors. So I called a friend, and he's like, "Oh, Genevieve, you're coming here. I know that it's difficult to come, so I'm gonna give you $10,000, and you pay whenever you can." And I was like, "Okay, thank you." And he was like, "This could help you to pay for the first semester, and then we see how it goes." And then another friend said, "Oh, Genevieve, I can give you $5,000 for now, and then you can pay for life insurance, and we see how it goes. You pay me back at some point." So in total, friends of mine offered $30,000, which is equivalent to like 100 something. uh, like 125,000 reais at the time, and had all this money in debt without even leaving my state in Brazil, right? Plus, my challenge was to study in English for the first time, to maintain my discount in university. I had to maintain a GPA above 4.5 to 6 to 5. So there was pressure both ways. A friend of ours said, I just got a house in Australia. You can live with us for some time. But I had to share a house afterwards, like,
Yeah.
and then I remember having this conversation with you with, and could you please tell me, like, if you can share with everybody, what were your thoughts at the time when my husband and I were talking about this?
Look, so like you said, we were sharing the house. So you lived one side, I lived in the other side. So I would, whenever you had these conversations, I wanted to support you, like how, and then I would go to my room with my wife and be like, dude, I think Janet is doing a mistake. I think she's doing a mistake. It's too many risks. She's going to a country she's never been ever, and she's starting off on the negative with like a huge amount of debt. And her staying there depends on her performance on her school because the visa was education based. And then on top of that, she has to like study, work, pay debt, do well in school, like, and her husband also needs to be working, and it's gonna be a physical job because at first that's what's gonna be there available. What if he breaks a hand? Like, what if he, like steps funny and twists his ankle? He can't work. And I just, was playing scenarios in my head. And I think at some point I told you, I was like, Jonathan,
Yes, you did.
look, I don't wanna, I don't wanna, shit on your parade, but but like be conscious, like what if this happens, what if that happens. And I remember um your husband was also very like positive. That's another thing that I think it's huge, is positivity and faith. It's like, no, it's gonna work out, and like have that positive attitude is huge when it comes to changing your life, whether it's a massive change or like a little habit that you want to change. And I remember feeling super proud of you, but being very concerned. I was praying. I was like, God, please, please help her out. uh,
Yeah.
but that was a few years back, and everything went so smooth. And, and I wanted to point out as well that a lot of the things that you are facing now, having a better understanding of how the universal laws exist, there's a divine force that wants you to succeed. There is an
Yes.
energy, a positive energy that wants every single one of us to do well, to do the best of our existence. It doesn't mean it's easy. It doesn't mean that your life is just gonna be comfort, you know,
Yes,
but
exactly.
we want that energy is there for us to do well. And whenever we are not taking initiative, that same force, which is beautiful and positive, will start to poke at us with a cancer scare, maybe, with a robbery scare, maybe, which at the time seemed terrifying. It's like, oh my God, it seems like a negative thing. And obviously,
It,
at the time, there's no, there's no arguing. It is a negative thing, but that is a positive force for you to change. Nowadays, through understanding a little better, if my tire in my car goes flat one day, I stop and I think, wait, what is the universe trying to tell me?
and then you think, where are you going, right? Which
Yeah,
side is it? Where did you come
yeah,
from? What was the conversations you've had before? What are the conversations you're going to have later? What
yeah,
were you trying to avoid?
yeah,
Why do you want it to be delayed on something?
yeah. And then it starts like
Yeah.
this. Oftentimes we start feeling emotions. Those emotions, if we don't deal with them, if we just numb them, or we don't think about them, or we just like brush them off, they sometimes will turn into something more physical. And what's inside manifests on the outside. So then what you feel will start to manifest in your life through the vibration that you have. It's simply how it works. There's no like escaping it, but there is learning about it and doing better with the knowledge that we gain.
Yes.
One point that I wanted to mention about risk taking and about changing lives, right? I heard this story. I don't remember who, but it was talking about the miracles that Jesus performed. And he was telling a story, but he was basically mentioning, I don't know if that's scriptural, if that's how it's dictated in the Bible, or how it's dictated. Anyhow, what I learned in the story is that Jesus would go up and say, "Get up and walk," or he would call somebody across the river and it's like, "Hey, come towards me." Now these people, they had all the reasons to be like, "Dude, I can't walk." Like you've been a cripple your whole life for, I don't know, a long time, and somebody's like, "Get up and walk." And you're like, "Bro, like before you even try, you have plenty of reasons not to even try." Right? So if somebody tells you to cross a river, you're like, you know, that's a big lesson about faith. I'm not saying that we are even close to what Jesus Christ was. But what I'm trying to say is that power, that energy, we have a similar energy, maybe not in the same amount, but with the same quality of faith, of authority, you know. So we are able to create through our intention, and the authority by which I say this is because we create through our intentions. If I think I want to go to the kitchen right now, I'm gonna make a sandwich for myself. Of course, you know, but it's my intention and I'm manifesting, right? That is the same principle of creation through your intention and through your faith. So when Jesus Christ ordered, "Get up and walk," they got up and they walked through their faith. You know, sometimes to change in life, we need to have that faith that there is a bigger energy than us, a collective energy, which we may call different names, right? But that energy will be there with you and it wants the best for you, whether you succeed. And what is success ultimately? A lot of times we think that success is getting the planned result, is like, "Oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to get that." And then we do, oh, success. That's one limited definition of success, but sure, let's just play with this definition. Um, through the successes or through the failures, that energy is there for us to get better. And how do I say, with which authority I say this? Just reverse engineering. But when you look at someone taking action, you take action, you get the result you want, great, you got the result you wanted, right? Now you take action, you don't get the result you wanted, you're taught in a limited way how to get your result. So whether you make a mistake or you get a win in your life, both ways, it's that positive energy, that divine energy leading you to the process. And
And you know,
sometimes
like,
the answer is in the mistake. Sometimes the success that you thought was a success is not in the desired result, is in the undesired result that leads to a higher purpose, or leads to the purpose that actually belongs to you.
yeah,
Anyhow, just wanted to mention that faith is super important in the risk taking, not just in
and
yourself, but yeah.
but you know, like faith, I would like the word faith in Sanskrit is Shraddha, and Shraddha it means place your heart in. So it's really pouring your heart into something, and when you do that, that's faith. And obviously, understanding a divine energy into it's very very important. But for those that do not have that connection, if they think of putting that faith into the heart, like pouring your heart into that action, you're leading into that divine within. We have the divine out in the universe, and we also have a divine within. in our language called Paramatma. So we have that divine that is together with you, that you can put your heart in place into that action, and then you can actually have a result. And that is the whole point of success. Is not about the results. Success is about doing it. Success is about acting. Because if you don't act, we cannot be successful.
Yeah.
But if you act, your the outcome, it's like it's I forgot the person who created the bulb, who is known to be the light bulb. Uh,
Oh, is it Thomas Edison?
yes, and once he was asked, I'm not entirely sure if this is bona fide reference in a sense of like it's true or it's just a story made up. But what
Yeah.
I've heard is that he failed many, many, many times. Like, and people ask him, "Oh, like, how do you feel about failing so many times?" He said, "Oh, I did not fail. I've learned many other ways of now not to do it.
Yeah.
Rather than focus on the failure, it's more of understanding how you should not do something. And I think that that's the crucial. And another thing I thought was I paid all my friends. Okay, I paid everybody. I don't owe anybody anymore. uh, and it's about like the risk taking transform you, and by this transformation you are able to really go to different realm that you of experience that you never been before. And when you are there, it's when you see it you cannot unsee it anymore. When you are able to realize something, it's not you cannot go back to that life. You cannot go back to that life, and you cannot waste your life doing things just for the sake of doing it. You have to put intention, you have to put your purpose, whatever it is. You have to identify this and then put it out there. Because if this doesn't happen, really, you know, the future, like reverse engineering is your results will show sickness, you know, your results will be, and mental health, anxiety, depression. Oh, I can go on forever about this, but just it's so important to take an action. I've actually completed the course on the certification of this method that I've gone through, which goes to the diagnosis process and uh, the work per se, the evaluation of what is holding you back, what is not holding you back, what is actually controlling your life within that area, and to really be able to use knowledge into action and then later on into flow of existence. So it's like it's a process, and you can do it your own journey, and you can also search out for help. There are many, many people that provide this service, and I'm not yet promoting the service here. It's not something that I am yet promoting, but I'm just saying that there is a process that you can analyze your life. You can do it yourself as well. So I think the goal of this life is to really promote awareness and uh, promote independent thinking. Like think independently. Think, stop, look at yourself. Are you controlling this? Are you not controlling this? What is making you acting the way you are acting? Because sometimes is I'm acting in this way because I heard 10 years ago that, you know, I should be doing this. And you have to think, who told me that? Was this mine or is this his or theirs? Or and then really be able to walk your path into a successful life, understanding what success is. Yeah, I think. Yeah, you have anything to say? Like, I know we can be here for hours and hours, but I
Yeah,
want to do this again. I want to
we
do this
gotta wrap
again
it up at
because,
some point, right?
yeah, I just
Um,
want to thank you. And if you want to say anything, please go ahead.
uh, I think let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think we talked a good chunk, and maybe you don't want to promote yourself just yet, but I want to promote you. Um, I hope that you can come out with more content. I feel like you touched very dense topics that can be further explored. The 7 levels of consciousness, for example. Yeah, the degrees of consciousness and the sub degrees and all that. The different laws that must be respected. I know you know a little magical trick there of building a field, important field that you can like see where you are at in terms of past, present, future, and your relationships and all that. And that's a life changer because it puts into perspective what's going on in your life from above. Because from being here, it's difficult to see what's going on in your life, right? But if you take a panoramic view, which is like what we try to do with the method of setting up a field, I don't know if you're going to be doing that or teaching people how to do
Yes.
that, but it's an excellent tool. And anyhow, I encourage you. I thank you. I encourage everyone, like you said, awareness, independent thinking, and encouragement. If you have something in there that you feel, like go deeper into it. Don't be afraid. Don't brush it off. Dive into what's calling you. You know, I think this is important. Well, since you're not being the promoting person today, whoever's still watching, if you wanna like, subscribe. This is the first live stream we're doing. We had to like
Hi.
beg people, hey, can you subscribe to the channel so we can actually live stream? You need a we need we need a minimum amount, and we weren't like posting stuff. So actually, I logged in and I looked at the channel, and there was a bunch of like just random videos that we had saved in the channel. I was like, oh, we gotta delete that, like birthday wish, anyhow. So like ultimately, we are not here for um we're not here for the followers, you know. Nadanam najanam nasundarim. It's a verse. It's a verse. Anyhow, we are here because you're trying to share. We lived a little bit and we had certain experiences, and we want people to do good. We want people to feel good, and we want people to expand their consciousness.
Yes. Let me just see if there is any questions on the chat. Just give me a second. Um,
Ooh, you're gonna do questions.
no, I'm just looking if there is any questions in the chat. Just I'm not entirely sure if there is. I think it should be all good. Um, no questions. So I think we can finish. And thank you again. I will be. I'm putting myself out there with the content. I think is really you touch on the life field, something that I would like to talk a little bit more, the level of consciousness. And I think soon you're gonna be hearing. But I think we should do this again. I think that you held a lot on, because I know that you can talk a lot more of your experiences as well. And I want people to see, because you've gone through a process of transformation yourself. I did on myself, and somehow we bounce off each other our realizations through that process, right? So I think people benefit from that. And I think we see each other again. Thank you. And Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat. Thank you very much. And yeah, I hope we can do this again. Good
Yeah.
night for those in
But
Florida. Good
night
morning for those in Australia.
in Australia, and good night for those in Brazil.
Bye bye.
Bye.